I'm here this morning with Nic Lauterbach from Pharmgate Animal Health. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Absolutely.
How has the conversation around PRRS management changed over the past 5 years, and what should producers be focusing on most today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one we get frequently. I would say the two things that we've seen change the most over the last 5 years are the severity of disease that these PRRS strains we're dealing with today are causing, as well as the seasonality of PRRS has really diminished. And so when you think about the seasonality of PRRS, it used to be that there was a very clearly defined PRRS season every year. It was in the winter months, the colder months. Now it seems like that window of time where we don't have a lot of PRRS activity has really shortened, where there's very, very few months, if weeks, where our team at Pharmgate Animal Health is not receiving calls about how do we manage through PRRS breaks and how do we help producers work through those challenges. The other piece that I mentioned was just the severity of disease that we're seeing these strains cause, where it's been, at this point, pretty widely reported and widely published that the strains we're dealing with today are shed in higher amounts, they cause a more severe disease, and the impact it has on the pigs is really severe in a lot of cases. And so I would say those two things, what that has really pushed recently is that it's really critical to keep this disease out of our farms. And so the best way to manage and to reduce the impact PRRS has on your pigs is to make sure that it's not introduced into your herd. And so focusing on biosecurity, keeping that disease out of your farm, and then if you do have a PRRS introduction, pivoting to biocontainment, keeping it into that farm where it's where you've diagnosed that PRRS, not allowing it to spread to adjacent herds or within your region, has become really important. And then there really is no off season for PRRS anymore, right? So making sure that as you're thinking about your biosecurity practices, as you may be training caretakers or the people you work with on your biosecurity practices, that's a full-time job and it's all year round. We really can't afford to take breaks when it comes to making sure that our biosecurity practices are implemented correctly and are being followed as we would expect them to be.
We know there's no single solution for PRRS, so what does a successful whole system PRRS management system look like on a modern pork operation?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's really complex, as you would imagine, right? We're talking about a virus that has been around the industry for almost 40 years, that we still struggle to deal with and contain at certain times of the year. And so I would say that it really starts at a geographic level, and then it boils down to the farm level. And so when I mention geography, it's understanding your region, your density, what strains are in the area, how much PRRS pressure do you have in the area, how are you going to keep that PRRS pressure out of your farm through your biosecurity practices. Like we mentioned in the first question, understanding that biosecurity is critical year round. There really is no off season for PRRS anymore. Making sure that you and the people you work with are understanding the whys behind our biosecurity practices. And then as we get closer to the farm level, it becomes important to understand, okay, what sort of bacterial pressures do I have in my pigs that if I have a PRRS introduction, I'm going to have to manage more closely through antibiotics? What sort of vaccine regimen or what sort of vaccine protocols do I need to have in place to protect those pigs ahead of a PRRS introduction on our sow farm? What sort of disease monitoring program do I need to work with my veterinarians or my health team to understand so that if I do have PRRS introduced into my sow farm or my growing pigs, I identify it quickly and I can start managing it and I can start containing it quickly onto that farm. So it's really multifaceted, and I think that's where, as you think about dealing with PRRS and managing through PRRS, that's where having working with a good veterinarian, having a good health team around you, and working with people like ourselves at Pharmgate Animal Health can be really important for producers around the country.
So looking ahead, where do you see the biggest breakthroughs in PRRS control coming in the next few years?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I wish I knew the answer to it, right? The reality is PRRS has been around the swine industry for almost 40 years now. I think we've made a lot of really good advances. We understand we understand the virus better than we used to, but there's still a lot of things that we don't understand about this virus. And so I know there's a lot of companies that are working on a lot of different technologies to help limit the impact, reduce the impact, cut out the impact of PRRS altogether. What I can say is that in my role at Pharmgate Animal Health, with our team, we're focused on really managing those challenges today, right? And so we're using our portfolio of modified live PRRS vaccines, such as PRRSguard, using our portfolio of antibiotics to manage those bacterial pathogens that become a challenge when you have something like PRRS introduced. And so I'm excited to see over my career what sort of technologies. I don't think the swine industry is going to be insulated from the technology advances that are going on around the world. So I'm excited to see what we'll bring and hopefully how to help manage, but our team is really focused on how do we manage this disease today and what can we learn from that so that we can make those incremental steps to help producers and veterinarians get through those challenges just a little bit better.